Imagine raising over £12,000. You're this close to being able to fund your dream project, and then you still hit the cancel button. Here's why we did that and what we learned. Hi everyone, I'm Matt Bell from Atorga Studios. Today we're going to be diving into a post-mortem of the Robot Raiders Kickstarter campaign. I want to share the things that worked, the things that didn't work, and what we learned that we could be doing differently for when we get round to relaunching a little later this year. So hopefully you can avoid some of the mistakes that we made and double down on the things that worked. Our goal was £15,000. We raised £12,705 from 205 incredible backers. Thank you so much, guys. Before we made the tough call and decided to hit the cancel button and rethink the whole thing. Day one was huge. We raised over £5,900 in 24 hours, but the momentum slowed down a lot quicker than we were expecting. Now, if we'd let the campaign run its full course, we would have probably just barely crossed the funding goal. But after taking time to talk to the team and listen to some backer feedback, we realized that we had some bigger challenges ahead. The new international tariffs that were coming apart from the world situation were really going to push up some of the costs for the majority of our backers. Most of them were from the US. The game we were actually producing and manufacturing in China. So this was going to cause a lot of problems for when we came to fulfilling the campaign. And those risks for fulfillment was way too much for what we were comfortable with. We are a very new company. This is our first launch. We need things to be going as smooth as possible to get the game from, well, our manufacturer to you. And we don't want you to have a bad experience with that. And we felt like for the position we were in, this was going to be more challenging than we would like it to be. And honestly, we didn't just want to get over the line. We really wanted to build a strong foundation for Robot Raiders, not just scrape by and risk disappointing all of you who believed in us. So even though cancelling was very hard, it was the correct decision. Some of our big wins included the direct traffic that we got from our emails over to the Kickstarter page. This was really, really great. Lots of people that did sign up did actually convert on the day and backed us, and we're very, very grateful for that. The next thing that was like really, really big for us was the paid meta ads. These were huge. We were getting our leads at about £3.39 each, which for this kind of project is very, very high. If you're running a Kickstarter, you're ideally looking for a situation where you're getting your leads between $1.50 to $3. So that's going to be like £1.20 to about £2.40. That's kind of where you want to get your lead. And a lead is somebody who comes to your website, signs up to your mailing list and says, yes, I want to know more about this. If you're paying more than that, the cost gets really, really high in order to get people over, because not everybody who signs up to your mailing list is going to eventually come over and back you on your Kickstarter campaign, or they're not going to follow you. So essentially, you're trying to create that funnel to get people from being exposed to your game to coming over to actually following your Kickstarter campaign and then backing you ideally as quickly as possible during the campaign when they're available to. Kickstarter watchers are pure gold. You want to have as many of those as possible before you launch, but there is a catch to that. And the thing with this is the way that Kickstarter works is you bring your audience to Kickstarter, and those people will ideally be the ones that fund you, and then Kickstarter starts promoting you to its wider traffic. The issue with that is if you start running your meta ads or some of your marketing strategy to get people directly to follow you on the Kickstarter page, you don't keep those leads. You don't keep access to those people. You don't get the email addresses or any way to reach them. You do get that if you successfully fund, but if you don't, you essentially just sent all of that traffic to people who went over to Kickstarter, signed up, and then Kickstarter retains that, which is great for Kickstarter. But obviously then if you plan to go for a relaunch, that's a little bit difficult if you lose touch with those people. So your ideal situation in your funnel is that you get traffic to your website, you get people to sign up to your mailing list so that you can then contact them. You can give them updates about the project. You can give them different opportunities to get involved in the development process, have conversations with you, join your Discord, see your content. And you want to retain that because in the long term, a very small percentage of that audience, ideally on a good Kickstarter, you're looking at about 10%, was like the minimum that you want from a conversion for your mailing. So that's the number of people from your mailing list who actually go over to your Kickstarter campaign and hit the follow button. About 25% would be great. 30% you're killing it. So that's kind of where you want to be with your mailing list. And then you can use that to backwards figure out exactly how many followers that you need. So in an ideal situation, about 25% of people who follow a project will follow through and back you. So you're looking at needing about 4 times the number of followers to hit your funding goal. And you do this by figuring out how much you need in order to manufacture your game, get it fulfilled, get it over, and then you can say, okay, cool, I need this many followers. And then you can figure out from your mailing list how many people are signing up. Are you within normal percentages if you've got a good page set up? And then you can figure out how much you can afford cost per lead. So there's actually very clean calculations that you can do to figure out, I need to get this many email signups, I need to get that many people from my email list to my followers, and then from my followers, this many will convert, and that will give me the final target that you need to have. So what didn't work? We had way too much text on our campaign page. We were telling people about Robot Raiders rather than showing. And this really affected us in the earlier parts of the campaign. The top of the page was walls of explanation, and it wasn't enough dynamic visuals or quick GIFs just showing gameplay. So we lost a lot of casual browsers who didn't want to dig deep. They'd come to the page, they'd say, oh yeah, cool, this is launch, take a look. They didn't quite understand the concept of the game. And that's a failure on my part, because we should have much more clearly articulated how the game actually plays, so that when people came to the page, they'd know within the first couple of scrolls, hey, this is how you play Robot Raiders, or this is at least what the concept of the game is, how it plays. Not just what the theme is and why it looks cool, or why it's a cool experience. It's trying to visualize exactly what the gameplay is. And that's what you really need to cover in the first half of your Kickstarter, or at least the first couple of scrolls. Taking a look at our audience, as I mentioned earlier, our audience came mostly from the US, UK, and Canada. And most of the people that were backing us were on desktop browsers. So there's an interesting thing there, because I know on GameFound, about 80% of people that use that platform actually back using the mobile application. So it kind of puts you in an interesting position where you've got to make sure that your page is mobile friendly. And some of the challenges you get is it's very nice to put all these amazing graphics and images and have all your text on the page to sort of really make it very thematic. But you can run into the situation where you have mobile devices where people can't actually read the text because it's too small. And then those people are just going to navigate away from your page, and you don't get them as backers. So you really want to take into consideration how your page looks on mobile. Go ahead, grab your phone, go to your preview page, scroll down, try and read it. If you've got an older phone, or you've got a friend or a grandparent who's got like a really terrible phone, grab that and take a look exactly how the page looks when scrolling through, and just get an idea of like what that mobile experience is going to be. Most people have phones, as we heard from Blizzard long time ago. You all guys have phones, but you ideally want to make sure that your mobile experience is great, and also desktop, because like there's people in my age group, I don't know if it's the same for everyone else, where there's certain purchases that are too big for me to do on a mobile phone, and I have to say, this is a desktop purchase. I need to go onto my computer and I need to like read everything and research. I feel more comfortable making that purchase on desktop. And there are people like that. But you ideally want to look good on both platforms. So here are the key lessons that we learned, and we're going to take that forward for when we go for our relaunch. The first thing you want to do is build a bigger watch list. You want about 4 times the number of people you need at minimum to fund the project. So this is the number of followers on your Kickstarter page or any of your other platforms. And you can actually figure out exactly how many of these that you need by figuring out what the average spend per customer is. So the average spend is going to be about 3 times whatever your minimum pledge is. If things are all equally spent, if you basically have like 25, 50, 100, people will generally pick the tier in the middle, and then your average spend will likely come out about 50, or maybe a little bit higher if your topper end is more popular. When you're figuring out what your average spend per user is. And then you can figure out, okay, cool, you have 250 people spending 50, and then that will tell you whether you're going to hit your target. Then you know you need 250 followers at the beginning of your campaign. But before you hit the launch button, if you want to set up a page properly, you want to lead with visuals, not text. You don't want to have big walls. People want to be looking at stuff, seeing it being cool. They want to understand the experience of the game. And they want to know sort of how is it going to feel when I'm actually playing, when I'm rolling my dice or I'm playing my cards or I'm handling the pieces. Like how is that going to come across to me? It's a very emotive experience. And that's what games are. They, as much as we love the strategy and stuff, there's a huge emotional element to why we connect with certain games and genres. Like it helps us immerse ourselves into the setting, and it helps us actually just play games. There's a huge component about how they make you feel, and you really want to capture this in your very first couple of sections or first couple of scrolls on your Kickstarter campaign. You want to focus your marketing spend for a day one explosion. You want to get as many people to back you on the very first day, because this is going to then make the platforms promote you out to other users. You've got a better chance of getting a Projects We Love badge, which are up to the discretion of Kickstarter. You're going to get other people that see 1,000% funded and go, oh my God, I really need to get in on this. Like everybody seems to be really following along with this. Like there's a huge amount of focus on the Kickstarter scrolling to see projects funded of more than 100%. And the earlier you get this done, the more of a snowball that has overall on your campaign. So trying to encourage people to get there as quickly as possible is the best thing. And ultimately, it comes from you talking to your community and asking very nicely that they do that. And planning your campaign to launch at a time when people have just got paid is usually a very good idea to help them do that. There are a couple of strategies that you can offer early bird discounts. So this basically, if you back us within the first 24 hours, you get a noticeable discount, but these can also backfire with some users who feel like they missed out and now they have to pay extra and they get annoyed by that. Or if you offer additional gifts, the collectors and people from that perspective are going to get really annoyed with you if you do that. So it's kind of have a look and think about it. All the strategies kind of work for different reasons with different audiences. It's a case of knowing your community, your people, and how they connect to your game and you as a creator, and then using that to essentially build the best campaign that you can that encourages people to want to be a part of your journey. You want to offer very clear value at every pledge tier, especially if you're doing something like deluxe editions. This is actually kind of where we made a mistake in the way we set up our tiers. For card gamers, my background from working on the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game for so long was basically, we understand that players really like premium options. So that'll be rarity upgrades, so rarer cards that have better different kinds of foiling, accessories, really customizing your game experience, and the really kind of premium accessories that make you stand out when you're in a tournament room filled with everybody playing cards. Now, the difference with a platform like Kickstarter or GameFound or BackerKit or any of the other board game-based systems is the key people that use that are looking for content. They want more game, not so much how the game feels in their hands. They just want to be able to experience more of what you've built. And that then made our deluxe edition less appealing to the wider audience of Kickstarter. What would have been better for us would have been to offer early access to expansions for Robot Raiders, as opposed to looking at the premium things such as sleeves, coins, promo cards. Those things are great, and they definitely appealed to a lot of the people that were following us from the Yu-Gi-Oh community or some of the other card game communities. But to hit that wider appeal to people, it would have been way, way more better if we'd have just said, okay, cool, we're going to bring in our first expansion, and that's going to be added on to your retail pledge, and that's going to then give you what was our deluxe edition. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Plus, you also end up with some kind of interesting things with the expenses when you're trying to get manufacturing quotes, because you don't know if you're going to how bad you're going to split the audience across your retail and deluxe editions, and your minimum order quantity is going to be for each of those. So if your minimum order quantity, say, was 1,000, you need 1,000 retail and 1,000 deluxe. That can immediately start pushing up your target that you need to raise in order to have enough to be able to fulfill your campaign. And you're also adding complications to your fulfillment agents. They're pretty good if you find a good reputable company to do your fulfillment, but the more items that you include in a shipment, it slowly starts putting your costs up and you start creating the room for error. So definitely something to keep in mind with when you're starting your campaign. If something is underperforming mid-campaign, be brave and pivot fast. So when I took a look at our numbers and we weren't converting as high as we probably should have based on the stats that we had, I started talking to a couple of people that have gone through the process before, sharing some data, asking questions of like, hey, yeah, can you take a look at the page? Can you let me know what's going on? And this is when it got pointed out that the start of our page looked great, but it didn't tell people enough about the game, about how it was going to play, why they should care. And we probably lost a lot of our early traffic who came to the page and then didn't have that experience where they understood exactly what Robot Raiders was or why it really appealed to them. And we went ahead and changed that. And I'd recommend for anybody who's running their campaign, when something like that happens or you notice something, go ahead and change it. Don't be afraid to think, oh, if I change it, then people will notice it. If it's a problem, take ownership of it and actually fix it so that people can then know that you care enough to make sure that they're having the best experience possible. So, to wrap this up, Robot Raiders isn't dead. I want to make that very clear. Not even close. We're taking the lessons that we've learned from this and we're going to come back much stronger later this year. We have a lot of ideas on what we can be doing better and things that will help the campaign come across better to you, the backers. And we ultimately want to make sure that the game does reach its potential. I've been out in the stores doing more demos and getting people's feedback from directly showing them the game, and it's all the feedback is so good that the situation that we were in with the tariffs and the potential cancellations we were going to get from some of our US customers who were then thinking, hey, this is too expensive, I'm going to cancel my order, or some of the other complications that could have come up in the time when we were fulfilling based on the amount that we were going to raise if we'd let the campaign run out. It was going to create a really rough start for Matorga Studios, and we know we can do better. And we're looking into what we're going to do differently on this next campaign, new people that will involve to cover certain areas where we could be presenting the game in a better way to more people. We want to find more of our people that are going to want to enjoy this. And of course, by extension, that then gives all of you more people to play against in the future. Come and follow our journey. You can also leave some comments down below, ask some questions. I'd love to be able to answer some of your questions about things, especially if you're an aspiring creator or you're just generally interested in the process and in general. But yeah, if you're working on your own Kickstarter, like, good luck, keep building, and it's okay, even if you don't hit the big success on your first time, or even if you fail, there's always opportunity to learn from it and just iterate on the overall experience. And this has been really tough. I'm sorry it took a while to get this video out. I spent about a year of my life on that, and that's not to speak of like the time that's been invested by the incredible volunteers that have been helping, for example, edit the videos, setting up our pages, doing all of our graphics. It was kind of weird where when making that call, there was some level of me that felt like I was letting those people down because we potentially could have got over the line and had successful funding, but it was going to cause way too many problems, and succeeding in that sense wasn't really succeeding. It was in a weird position where actually winning was losing, if that makes sense to people. But I wanted to be honest when I told you in the announcements on the Kickstarter page. You can see in our last update when we talked very plainly about why we cancelled the campaign. I wanted to give you this video to understand a little bit more about the behind the scenes, so you can sort of see some of our numbers and get an idea if you're running your own Kickstarter campaigns, how to benchmark yourself. Going forward, there's actually a few more things that we're going to be doing with this channel. I want to add some educational content, so it's going to be more a bit about breaking games down, sort of discussing game design options and how I'm looking at it from my experience. We also want to do some reviews for other creators that are doing their own Kickstarter campaigns. We want to help you get exposure. I know a huge part of it is getting enough people to demo your prototypes and then get them out there so you have the videos that you can put on your page so people can watch people play before making their purchasing decisions. And we're going to do a bit of that, as well as sort of educating people from game design and doing more playtesting. So you're going to see more content on this channel in the very near future. There's going to be more Robot Raider stuff to come, and we're going to be making some big announcements once we've got everything in place. But yeah, that's just to give you a bit of an idea about what we've got coming up in the pipeline as we continue to work on Robot Raiders. With all that said and done, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.